Raid the docks. One cost, questline, play 3 pirates, which is very easy to do, and we'll talk about a little deck tech right now. You want to eschew the heavy pirates for the ability to get this quest online early because the payoff is exceptionally strong. The first prize, create a distraction, play 2 more pirates. Reward, deal 2 damage to a random enemy twice. Uh, Unfortunately, it doesn't prioritize creatures to get you back in the game if you were behind, for example. But having played 5 pirates, you're probably ahead on the board at or even. You're probably not behind playing a deck that plays 5 pirates. We'll just say that. So this is probably either finishing touching up the board or starting to go face, which is what you're going to want in the control matchups, and what is traditionally something like a pirate deck's um, worst situation is it just runs out of gas, and this is saying, all right, I've got more gas. We've got another 4 damage to them. Secure the supplies. Next line, play 2 more pirates, so we're up to 7. Play Captain Rakara. Captain Rakara, 5 cost 7/7. Which, by the way, you can play this card with cards on curve, 1 and 2 cost pirates. You can actually get this card out on turn 5, which would be outstanding. But the real benefit is not the Captain Rakara; it's her ship that she rides in on, the Juggernaut. Uh, this is essentially the like Spanish Armada galleon that can have its cake and eat it too. This Juggernaut, start of your turn, summon a pirate, equip a warrior weapon, and fire 2 cannons that deal 2 damage. That's insane. This card has reach, it has inevitability, it has card advantage, everything that you want that a pirate deck would need, especially when you're just gumming out, like spewing out pirates early. Suddenly you're just going to have this end game juggernaut that's sitting there like, I'm the juggernaut, bitch. Like, it's coming at you. It's never going to stop. It means you get to attack with your hero for the rest of the game. You're always going to have a weapon. It can even give you the Bulwark of Azeroth, which can make it so you're just immune for a turn. And it's just always going to give you more pirates, and just extra gas, and on top of just dealing 2 damage every single turn, 4 damage. Uh, I think if you get this quest, this is probably, in my opinion, the single strongest quest. The downside is that you need to play 7 pirates. Now, to do that on curve by, let's say in the most greedy situations, you're doing it by turn 4, so you can play Captain on turn 5. You would need a lot. You're basically, by turn 4, you only have 7 cards, so you'd need them all to be pirates. You would need the curve to be right. That's not really realistic, but by turn 7, you have access to maybe 12 cards. You could easily have this. The the fact that Raid the Docks gives you a weapon means you can have a little bit more board control. The fact that you've dealt 2 damage sprayed a couple times is good. You've got a 5 cost 7/7 you're playing. All of these cards seem to like fuel into this ability to control the board a little bit and play creatures that, they might not be great, but the sum is going to be greater, or the whole will be greater than the sum of its parts, because once you hit the Juggernaut, this thing is unbelievably fun to like conceptualize and play. It's pretty easy to do, and by turn 7, for example, we're saying if your deck has, let's say, half pirates, you could easily fill this quest by then. And if not, you've got weapons, and you've got Shiver Their Timbers, which is an absolutely fantastic card. We'll get to that in a second. I'm super excited to do this. When I came back into Hearthstone, the first thing I did was invest in Rush Warrior. It's just such a good deck. It's too bad that this doesn't just like feed and play nicely with Rush Warrior like you almost want it to, just because you have Rokara and because you have Stonewall Anchorman, but it's really not going to play. This is going to be a different deck, but I already played a pirate aggro deck, and it was close to being very, very good. It might even have room for Ringmaster's Baton, which is exciting, and certainly the upside is even higher. So this will be a lot of fun. I'm literally like rubbing my hands together to play with this. Cowardly Grunt, 6 cost, 6/2, Death Rattle, summon a minion from your deck. Meh. Uh, your deck would have to be a lot of heavy hitting creatures for this to have a payoff, or your deck would have to be all spells, and then you're playing this as your 6 drop that's helping fuel into something like a Deathwing that's just going to get a 12/12 into play. You could also hit Lothar, one of the new cards that we're going to look at. Uh, I don't see it yet. I think you would need to build a deck entirely around this, and this would be a role player in that niche sort of deck, which can't make it good. It can't make it better than 2 stars for sure. And it's probably just a 1 star card because 6 cost 6/2. Let's face it, you're not looking to play it. It is always going to give you another minion from your deck, which was good enough to play in your deck. If you're playing a mid-range deck, maybe you're hitting Tent Trashers and things like this, or Overlord, Runethugs, or but on the downside, you could hit Ringmaster Whateleys, and you just don't want to hit that. So I think this gets in the way of some of the other good interactions you want. At least now, it has the potential to be a solid role player in a mid-range, fueling or ramping into big cards with this, but it doesn't seem that good. In Arena, however, this is 2 creatures, so it's going to trade down the first time, and then you just have to look at the average strength of your creatures. And in Warrior, let's say 4 and 5 cost is your average. You're going to get 2 cards for this, which is fine for that investment. So I'm happy to play this. I think it's a solid card. You're definitely going to put it in your deck. I'm not super eager to do it, and I don't think most decks that play a lot of top-end cards are very good. Um, but it's always going to be at least okay. It's two warm bodies is something. It's not nothing. And in that vein, if you're talking about playing against a control deck, they have to deal with your 6 power creature and then another creature. So there could be a mid-range list where this is okay. So we'll give it 2 stars in standard and 2 stars in arena. It's not dead. Next we have Cargo Guard, 3 cost 2/4 pirate. At the end of your turn, gain 3 armor. This is the best friend of a mid-range pirate deck. This is exactly the sort of card you're looking for. It's going to give you the consistency in drawing pirates while also being a not horrendous body, and also gaining you armor so that you're not dying to the other aggro decks while you're fueling up the Juggernaut. I kind of picture the Juggernaut as being that the ship that's in the bay or in the harbor that's getting ready to take off or to set sail. This card, very solid. Your armor in arena doesn't really matter, but I think this card fits a lot of different decks, aggro and mid-range, which gives it a 3-star rating in standard, and we'll give it 2 stars in arena because the armor's not that important and the body's underwhelming. All right, next we have remote-controlled Golem, 4-cost 3/6 mech, of which there's a lot of support. After this takes damage, shuffle 2 Golem parts into your deck. When drawn, summon a 2/1 mech. The body's fine on this, and the fact that it makes it hard to kill when you get all these extra parts spraying around is good. But also, it can take lethal damage, or it can take chip damage, or you could have Blade Storm, and you could deal it 6 damage in what's the word I'm looking for? In chunks of 1. Chunks. In chunks of 1, you can get 6, 12 2/1s into your deck, cast when drawn. That's like infinite ammunition. So this card does some pretty exciting things for the end game. Or just like the total amount of consistent damage that you're going to get out. And the 4-cost 3/6 is not a nothing body. This card is much better in arena than it is in standard. In standard, there is a frenzy deck. There are a lot of things that like to poke for 1. You have your Og Merchants, you have the Cruel Taskmaster, you've got Whirling Blade Whirl, or whatever it's called. You've got Overlord Sourfang. You've got many different effects that are that will help trigger this to just fill your deck full of gas. Also, not to ignore it, there could be some strong synergies with mechs. So this card is very strong. It has the potential to be a build around card. It is just definitely at least solid, sometimes better, and it might be completely broken in the right situation. So it's gonna get 3 stars. In arena, same thing. Stats are totally healthy. There are very few creatures that can just kill it in one hit, and even if they do, you're still getting 2 Golem parts into your deck, and you might be getting more. This card is going to be insane stats. We're going to give it 4 stars in arena. I think this card is an overwhelming pile of stats for that format. Next, we have Lothar. Speaking of cards that are absolutely busted in Arena, this is another 4-star Arena card. 7 cost, 7/7. At the end of your turn, attack a random enemy minion. If it dies, gain +3/+3. In most cases, this is going to be a 10/7, essentially. Kill a guy. Come into play, fight for board, win board, get bigger, pass turn. And then if you ever get to do it more than that, you've won the game. Because its power just got astronomically large. The question is whether or not this is good enough to overtake the other cards that are good in Standard. I see this filling a sort of troublemaker role as far as controlling the board, but it's much worse at hitting face than troublemaker is. It also attacks, so you can't. It attacks, so you can't like put it into a board with venomous Scorpid. There's a lot of potential downsides on top of the fact that it's a random enemy minion. That is going to put the brakes on it. I do think it is just a very generically strong card, which is why it's going to get 3 stars for Standard and 4 stars for Arena. Next, we have Provoke. 0 cost, tradable, so you can always get rid of it. Choose a friendly minion. Enemy minions attack it. So this would be great with Poisonous. I think it's going to, as soon as it dies, it's not going to continue fighting things, I presume. I don't see the best uses for this. I don't know if there's any like really great situations, except for that 3/6 we just saw. But the fact is, this is a way to play a guy, get ahead on board, and then 0 cost, fight their board with your guy and fight all of their creatures, which is really, really important. It could be very good with conditioning. It could be good with Lothar. It could be good with the 3/6. I think there's a lot of uses that make it good enough where it's going to be good into aggro decks. Against mid-range decks, you know, it's tough if their first guy kills it. You need to really either want the death rattle effect or the damage effect. It's also enemy minions are attacking it rather than it attacking all enemy minions, so you're not going to get the Rokara buffs. But that said, in those mid-range matchups or control matchups, you can cycle it away. So I don't think it's particularly good. I'm going to give it 1 star, another 1-star epic, I know. There are going to be situations where this is going to be a very nice role-playing card. And, you know, in the right spot, if you have the biggest guy on the table and it's bigger than their 2 guys, you can create a 2-for-2 trade, plus getting your death rattle effect, for example. It could be okay. It would be very interesting if you get it into effects where every time your guy takes damage, it gets bigger. And so Gurubashi, for example, or Gromash, just like get bigger and then smash everything else. Could be interesting. Stormwind Freebooter, 3 cost 3/3 pirate. Battlecry, give your hero +2 attack this turn. +2 attack is unfortunately not the number you like. You like to see 3 because it ensures that you can go and like win a fight with something in the early game. But against control, it's a 3 for 3/3 body, and you get to punch. It's a pirate for all your synergies. And if you're playing against aggro, it just lets you come in and fight for like an Intrepid Initiate, for example. It does seem to be a little bit slow. It's not quite enough stats in any direction to really want. What are you doing, bud? Okay. Okay. So it's not the most exciting card. It's not bad. It's going to be a role player in the pirate deck. Maybe there's iterations where you can get Wind Fury if they give us something like that, which is why I'm going to give this 2 stars. There might be some building flexibility, but I don't see it yet. In Arena, though, it's very good. You can fight for the early game with this using your hero as a way to get some early damage. This is effectively letting your hero fight for your turn 2 play, and then your turn 3 play is much stronger. Next, we have Heavy Plate. 3 cost tradable, gain 8 armor. In the matchups where you want to gain 8 armor, it's going to be great, and in every other matchup, you want to get rid of it. Eventually you have to play it, and it is flavorful in the sense that armoring up is like the last thing you want to do. So you can always just ship it until you need it, or you just have to play it, nothing left, and you can gain 8 armor at that point. I don't really like this card. I think your deck needs to be very metagame dependent to want a card like this. At Control Warrior, there's other things that do it better that I think are just going to be much better options. In Arena, just kind of same thing. At least if you're falling behind, gain 8 armor could be a fairly flexible option that can get you back in the game, or allow you to survive, but then you're not playing something that's big enough to get you back in the game, so it kind of defeats its own purpose. I'm going to give it 1 star for Constructed for Standard, because you basically only want it in a certain type of deck for a certain type of matchup. And in Arena, same thing. You'd rather do other things, even with tradable. Next, we have a card that I absolutely love, Shiver Their Timbers. Deal 2 damage to a minion. If you control Pirate, deal 5 instead. Now, for Arena, this is a 2-star card. It's not very good. Dealing 2 for 1 is, that exists, but it's not a sought-after effect. But if you have a Pirate, this becomes premium removal. Luckily, we're building a standard standard deck that has 14 pirates in it, and so while you're curving out, you can fill in the hole with a 1-cost deal 5 damage, complete tempo blowout, the best card of its type. This card is the sort of card that's going to enable you to get the Juggernaut out game after game, because you're not going to get run over by better creatures. I'm going to give it a 2-star for Standard, because it is still just a role player. You need other cards to make it good, but then it is very good. And a 2-star for Arena, just because it can hold its own weight, and sometimes it's a little bit better. Sometimes it's a lot bit better. Last but not least, Harbor Scamp. 2-cost 2/2 pirate, Battlecry draw pirate. This is exactly the type of card that you want in your Juggernaut deck. It's not discovering a pirate, it's drawing a pirate, so you're getting the ones in your deck. It is understated, so you could say it's understated. It's never going to help you fight for the board the way that you need it to, but it is helping you chug through your quest line, which is something that you probably want to do to get that Juggernaut online early. And at the very least, it's drawing another card, and it's powering up your Shiver the Timbers. That finishes it for Warrior. Warrior didn't get too many things, and I guess that makes sense because Rush Warrior is probably the tier 1 deck right now. But the fact that the Juggernaut is what it is, I mean, that's an exciting card. So that is definitely the thing that we're looking to build. There's going to be, I think a lot of decks are going to have to keep up with the Juggernaut.